Past his speech in the Rose Garden. What is the point of even bringing it up?
Well, the problem is that twofold, actually. One is that it won't make it past the Congress. And again, you know, we've already got the Tea Party and the conservative side of the candidates already opposed to the raising any type of tax increases. But more importantly, trying to raise taxes in an environment as weak as we have now is something that's going to not only impact the economy but also impact the consumer at home, who are already stretched. I mean, you've got 22% of food and wages being eaten up right now by food and gas. I mean, it's very hard for the individual to make ends meet.
Right. And then if we could talk about sort of the Buffett rule. We know that Warren Buffett has famously said it makes no sense for him to be paying a lower tax rate than his secretary does. But I don't know if all millionaires or billionaires think the same way. I mean, what do you think Wall Street's reaction is going to be, or you know, would they? What else would they propose to really get around what we are trying to fix?
Well, the problem is, first of all, it's not even a fair statement for him to say, well, I pay a lower tax than my secretary, because the secretary's paying tax on W-2 income, which is your normal income tax rate. His taxes don't come from W-2 income. It comes from capital gains and dividends, which are at 15%. So here's the issue. 20% of the population is who invests in the markets. So if all of a sudden you start raising a 15% capital gains rate to 25 or 35%, you're going to have a massive sell-off in the markets, because everybody's going to go to sell to lock in the gains that they've achieved since 2009 to lock in those gains. So it's not something that's going to be, again, a bad idea for the economy short term. This isn't the time we need to be messing with those things. And trying to raise tax revenue in a weak economy is just bad for the economy altogether.
Lance, if it's not time to be messing with those kind of things, what should the U.S. politicians be focusing on?
Well, again, we've got to start looking at where the economy is really weak. If you look across the board, whether you're looking at the consumer spending, you look at economic output right now, we're running very, very weak here, about 1% on GDP. You look at our trade deficit, what's happening there, our dollar standard. The problem here is that anything that you do to try to raise taxes or cut spending at this moment is going to directly impact the economy. The economy right now is supported primarily a lot by what government spending in terms of unemployment benefits. We've got the highest level on record of people on food stamps. This isn't the economy here to where you come in and start raising taxes and taking away income from the people that support 70% of the economy, which is through consumption.
Lance, a couple of points there we'll pick up on. It's Ross here and None. I just want to bring you something as well here about Greece. We'll just have this conference call today between the Greek finance minister and the Troika members, the IMF and the EU inspectors. Well, that was going to be about 2 CET. It's now going to be at 4 o'clock, hang on a sec, 4 o'clock G, so that's now 6 o'clock CET. So now 6 o'clock CET is what's going to happen there. I'll bring that to you. Actually, I just want to get your own sense here. We'll come back to the US economy. Just give me your own sense. What impact do you see? What's the risk for your clients and things you talk about from the Eurozone sort of crisis we've got at the moment?
Well, the problem here is again, you know, everything that we're doing with Greece. Look, Greece is going to default. It's only a function of time. You've got broke countries lending money to broke countries who can't pay them back to start with. So this has been a kick the can down the road measure. And you know, we've talked about U.S. dollar swaps here just recently. We're reinstituting those through the end of the year. You don't do that type of thing unless you are already aware of a impending crisis that's coming down the road. This was the one thing that the Fed learned after the whole Lehman crisis, is that it froze the credit system. So not having those U.S. dollar swaps available, not impacting the markets with a lot of liquidity here, they're trying to stave off the inevitable default of Greece here, which will not only impact the economy in Europe, but also impact us here, since 20% of our revenues derive from imports and exports into Europe.
Well, I guess what they're trying to do is figure out a way to minimise the impact of what maybe they see as an eventual default. The question is about how you go about that.
Well, that's the thing. They're trying to, at this moment, what they're trying to do is kind of ring off the default issues that are going to potentially come out of Greece. But see, the problem is once Greece goes, now you're starting to talk about all the other Eurozone countries as well. Everybody from Ireland to Spain to potentially Italy. It's really a much bigger problem than they have the ability to actually forestall. It's just going to be an issue of if they can actually kind of synchronize the events to get them through the system without defaulting the whole system. Ultimately, this comes down to really which countries and which banks do we save.
Thank you so much, Lance Roberts. You're going to stick with us for the whole hour. He's the CEO of Street Talk Advisors, so we'll definitely have more when we come back. Let's take a quick look at the U.S. futures.